Good evening and welcome to Cam's RedArmy. Exciting show. Got a really special guest, someone who we go back a long way, Rob Nichols. So thanks, Rob, for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Really excited to dig deep in everything that you've been involved in and everything what you've done. Obviously a huge Middlesbrough fan. You'll notice that we've got a bit of an empty seat. Dave couldn't make it today because he's feeling a little bit unwell. So hopefully you get well soon, Dave. Everybody get your questions in. Loads to talk about. Obviously everything what's happened this week. Transfer window's shut, obviously. Obviously last weekend's game been and gone. We're going to discuss that. We're going to pick the bones out of it, good and bad, and got plenty of things to talk about. No game this weekend, so we're going to talk about different things. So if you get your questions in, feel free. We'll answer everything. So look forward to it. Rob, we go back a long way. It's probably been, I probably 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, we probably crossed our paths.
Could be.
Yeah. Tell everybody what you're doing, how you got involved, what's going on. Obviously, you're huge with Fly Me to the Moon. Everyone will know that, but just tell everybody what's involved in it.
Yeah. I sort of was working for Fly Me to the Moon. When back in those days, back in the 90s, I suppose. Yeah. It started in 1988, and I took it on in about 94. I should know because it says that on my office door because I'm still in the same place as I was then. And things have got a bit easier since then because when we did it in those days, it was handwritten letters that people would send through the post, and you would be spending a week typing the handwritten letters and then trying to work out how you could print and how you could. And the first ever copy was photocopied on somebody's office equipment. That's how it was, and then it transformed really, really quickly. I'm still here. That's cut down at one point to once a month rather than once a match because people stopped. The print sort of became unpopular in a way, but it's been revived. And there's even like kids that do fanzines these days, not just for football, but for music and all sorts of things. So I think a lot of people actually like to have something in their hands that can read like that.
No, totally. And I think if there's any Boro fans out there who don't and haven't seen it and weren't aware, I'm sure you all were, but please have a read. It's a cracking read for every Boro fan. You know what I mean? It's an amazing thing to read because, you know what I mean, for everything about it, what's going on, the history behind it, like Rob just said. No, it's great. But Rob, I want to look back this week. Things aren't looking great from outside looking in. You know what I mean? But I think as a Boro fan, we're probably very used to what's happening. We've been here, wore the t-shirt many times. But I want to look at Saturday and your thoughts on what happened at the weekend against QPR. Were you excited before the game? Did you expect what happened during the game? Did you expect anything differently to pan out, basically?
Yeah, well, after the game at Bolton, in the midweek League Cup game, we were pretty woeful in the first half, I suppose. But we got that leveller just before the break. And then as the second half progressed, you suddenly saw the team starting to mesh together. Some of those players have come in and we absolutely hammered them in the end. And he thought, we're going to take that confidence into Saturday, playing a team that is everyone's favourites, really, to go down. They struggled last season badly. And
I said that on last week's show, Rob, that they were the worst team I've seen at the Riverside. The last two times they've come, they were dreadful. They didn't travel very well. Yes, they've got a different manager in place this year, but they were there for the taking before the game. But the game doesn't play on paper, does it?
No,
you know?
Certainly not.
And unfortunately, the way that the game panned out, obviously a wonder goal for the first goal. Which, you know, I mean, I know you've got to stop shots and you're probably inviting them to shoot from there, but 9 times out of 10 it probably won't go in. But on this occasion it flew in the top corner, you know what I mean, and the goalkeeper didn't have a chance anywhere near it. But you look at the style of play as a Boro fan, you know what I mean. You've seen lots of teams, lots of managers, lots of philosophies. What's your thoughts on the way that we are playing?
Well, obviously last season was stunning, really. You know, most goals that we'd scored in my football lifetime, and getting Chuba, obviously. We have to mention Chuba scoring 28 in the league. Just amazing. We never thought we'd see those sort of stats. And it wasn't only the goals that were going in, it was the football that we were playing. And we were conceding goals. We could bring that into this season, but we were like scoring three or four goals a game. It seemed it was just amazing. So such a contrast to this season, obviously, and sadly, it looks like so many seasons have started the same, but this is worse than any of them, because we seem to part company with managers regularly in October time in that international break, because we've gone into a season looking so ill prepared in a way.
We are going to have a little conversation about what you just said about parting managers and things, and I put something on social media, and if people follow me on Twitter especially, I did put out my support for the manager and for the chairman, and there's a lot of negativity going around the area for both of those, and we are going to look at that later on, but I just want to focus on the game. And you talk about there about the way that we're playing, the most goals we've scored. I look at last season and we pass forward a lot more, we look with a bit of penetration. This season so far, it looks a little bit more tapered down, that we're keeping the ball a little bit better, but we're not going anywhere, we're not creating as many chances, we're not looking as hurting teams as much as that we have done in the previous seasons, or especially last season especially. You know what I mean? 62 possession on Saturday was quite comfortable. I thought at times even though we got beat 2-0, we were comfortable in possession with the ball. They weren't hurting us, but we weren't hurting them at the same time. And yes, we had 16 shots, 9 on target. They had 11 shots, 3 on target. But you've got to really work the goalkeeper. You know, there's got to be some kind of speciality in what we're doing. You know, that last year we've harped on about players that we've lost. You talked about Chuba there. We had other areas of quality around the sides, going in behind, playing in behind. Archer. You know, and obviously Riley has played a huge part in that last year. This year, for whatever reason, it's not working out that he's not playing, but there's another thing that we'll dig in deep later on. But we need to make sure that we get back to basics. And the last week and the week before, I spoke about conceding the first goal. Yeah. We've conceded the first goal in every single game this season. Yeah. And that's a concern, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yes, we can concede goals. Yes, we may score goals. But the minute the goals aren't coming, so if we're letting one in, at best we're going to get a draw. You know what I mean? Currently, are we going to score 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals? No, because on current form, we look lackluster.
And the confidence as well.
Yeah.
And when you lose that first goal and your confidence is quite fragile, then it really affects us. And you said it was a wonder strike, and you compare that to we weren't really penetrating, but we still had 2 or 3 clear-cut chances in the first half that we should have taken.
And I just think sometimes it's about players believing in themselves a little bit more, you know what I mean? Instead of taking that extra touch, putting your shot away, you know what I mean? You look at Dell's goal, it was a hit and hope. I don't think he thoroughly expected it to go where it went, you know what I mean? He wanted it to go there, obviously, but I think sometimes you've got to just hit and hope that sometimes it can fly in, get a corner, we can play, you know what I mean? If we can play it in their half, we've got a chance to score, and at the minute things aren't going for us, and I just think we just need to probably try and get back to basics. We've got a good solid couple of weeks training together, which I think will be important. Yes, we are losing players for internationals, so that'll hinder, I believe. But I just think we've got time in the training ground with the new players who've been brought in. Let them buy into what the manager wants to do, get them up to speed fitness-wise, because I think a few are a little bit short, in my opinion. Yeah. And then we can hopefully try and get a positive result, because we're desperate.
You're bringing in players from different leagues as well, and from different countries. Yeah. And that you must have experienced. You certainly experienced all sorts of different players coming in at Middlesbrough, and you're asking for someone like Engel, who's coming from Denmark, to sort of bed in straight away. Yeah. He seems to be finding it difficult to play the way that we play. Yeah. He did an amazing, terrible back pass at West Brom, for instance, and I'd never seen anyone do that in our team before. So he's getting to know things. Yeah. Sammy Silvera is noticing him. He's not tracking back. He left Tommy Smith really exposed in a game in which he'd just come back from a serious injury.
Hence why he got his second yellow card, And I think that's a great valid point what you make about players coming from different countries. The pace of the game's different. Yeah, it's probably a lot slower. You know what I mean? Everything here in England is high tempo, 100 miles an hour. You'll probably get more time on the ball in various countries, probably in the countries that I've come from, in Switzerland, in Australia, you know. So I think we have to give players time to bed in. We've got to give players that opportunity to make mistakes, but also back them. You know, that Tuba, for example, got backed even though he went on loan to other clubs and he came back. So we have to back these players, give them an opportunity to succeed, give them an opportunity to wear that red shirt with pride, because we're all singing off the same sheet. We're all desperate for success. We're all desperate for things to turn around. And the more negativity we have with the players, with the club, and the players' heroes, it's going to have a negative impact on the pitch. Because as a player, you say you don't hear it, but you do. You know, when you miss a chance, the moans and the groans, and when you do a bad pass, the moans and the groans, and
does it sometimes make you hesitate to
it does,
shoot?
It makes you not want to make the mistake again.
Yeah.
So that means you're scared.
Do you play the safe games?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're dreading the next moment, you're dreading the next touch, next pass. And I think as a player, you know what I mean. I think nowadays players are built differently. I think now they're more mentally strong than probably we were back in the day, I believe. And I think it's so important now to have a strong mentality. But even the strongest of mentality player-wise, I think they can probably have a wobble. And when they're having a wobble, like a back pass, it can affect you for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes. And if that affects you, then you're no good to anybody, you know. It's nice for fans to back them and listen. You know, I'm talking about probably a minority. There are people who, you know what I mean, they're probably just have a dig at people. But you know what I mean, we all need to back these kind of players, back the manager, back the chairman, back the club, because we're all in it as one and we need to be successful. You know what I mean, I said the guys in here, you know what I mean, I listen to the criticism and listen, some of it's right, some of it's wrong, some of it's absolutely bang on. For me, players have to take responsibility. You know what I mean? For me, when I played and you don't play very well, you've got to take responsibility yourself. It's about 11 players playing together. You know, once the manager picks a team and you go over that white line, it's difficult for the manager sometimes to have an impact in that 45-minute spell. Yes, he can have another go at half time in a short space of time, but players have to step up. Players have to run through a brick wall for that red shirt, for that badge, for the fans, for the club, for each other, for themselves, for the family. And I think sometimes other teams have come to the Riverside and wanted it a little bit more, especially this season. It just looks like they're running a little bit more. Is that a fitness thing? Is that a desire thing? And I just hope we can turn it around very quickly, because we've had bad starts in the past. Of course we have. We're very used to it.
Yeah, we are.
This one does seem that it's dragged on a little bit longer than others. Maybe it's a week or two longer than I wanted to. And with this break as well now, it's going to be quite negative in this break. And when we come back, we need to get a result.
So we've got the first one for Matthew King, and said at least we will lose this weekend for Boro.
Fair point.
Daniel
Comment of the day.
Daniel Robin said Carrick has to go. 10 games about a week, shocking. Gibson's got to stick with Carrick. We can't keep changing managers every year. We will sort it, get behind them, and that happen.
It's funny, Kofi, there, and you got two of the last comments there. One, the manager's got to go, Rob. The next one is we've got to have solidarity together. We've got to stick the two together. You know, so the fans are so split. It's scary. You know that we've all just need to come together. Listen, I know it's an opinion. I know people are frustrated. I know we've had a real bad, tough time. And for me, if you're going to make those kind of decisions, you do it then straight after the last game, because doing it at a kind of period of now, with halfway through an international break as well, then you're looking for a new manager. The grass isn't greener for me. You know,
No.
who's available.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's better than, for me, Michael's the best young manager in the country. Yeah. Potentially. You know what I mean? From what he's shown. His philosophy looks very good. Yes, I'd like to tighten things up at the back, but that's not just a Michael Carrick thing. That's all the coaches, that's the players' mentality. It's the lads getting together sometimes and making sure it happens and digging deep.
Quite ridiculous to get rid of Michael Carrick at this stage. Absolutely. Yeah. And that when I was saying that about often swapping the manager in October, I didn't mean I wanted to do it again. Yeah. I was saying that we've done it too often, and we've just gone round in circles.
Yeah. And to be fair, sometimes the middles way of doing it, we normally do it after a win anyway. So sometimes it's and that's probably baffled supporters sometimes. But those decisions are always made in-house, previous, and the cement's already set sometimes, and you've just got to get on with the decision what's made. But you know what I mean? For me, he's our manager. Back him, support him. You know what I mean? The transfer window's shut now, so he's got the players he's going to work with. We ain't losing anybody. He's got a really good, strong squad for me in the Championship. He's got good young players coming through. in my opinion, and because everyone's allowed their own opinion, I never think anyone's right or wrong. You know what I mean? My opinion, Andy Campbell's opinion is we've got the best chairman. We've got the best chairman in the Championship, if not the country. You know what I mean? Who's brought the club back from where it was, took us to levels which, when I played for the club listen, Rob, when I came to the club, we were moving from Essen Park over the Riverside. We didn't have a training ground. We were training at Tollsby Road. We were training at the beach, at the prison. The Riverside wasn't going to be ready for the first game against Chelsea. You know, all these things which the chairman and other people, investors and things, have brought together. And, you know what I mean? For me, I'm thankful for that because I'm a Middlesbrough supporter like all you guys are, and I'll back the club. Listen, I can be negative, I can be frustrated, I can be upset, I can be angry. But I think when you take a step back sometimes and look at the bigger picture, you know what I mean? We're not a club stable enough to go and spend X amount of money bringing these type of players that we have done previously. You know what I mean? We're bringing in sometimes short-term players on short-term loans, season-long loans, and they go back to the clubs, and it leaves big holes to fill. And unfortunately, Rob, it's causes a problem. It's a
big problem for the Championship in that how can you possibly have continuity in a division where the three teams that come down and the teams that come down the season before, the parachute payments mean they've got like a massive advantage over you, and you're trying to compete with them, and you're trying to loan a few players. I think it's something that Michael Carrick said a couple of weeks ago was pertinent, that he was saying about perhaps we were too reliant on the loan players. There were key players. He not necessarily brought in under him, but there were obviously we when we brought the keeper in, Zach Steffen, we also brought Liam Roberts in. The idea he would be the successor. For whatever reasons, we decided we don't want to go down that line, but we filled that. We brought in a good keeper. But I'm guessing that we didn't expect to lose Ryan Giles in the end. Just the way that we didn't get anybody. We've signed 2 left backs recently, but I would think we'd have signed them earlier.
I think we said this on the show, and we've talked about it in house that I think the thought process was that he was going to stay. I think all the fans wanted him. Obviously the club wanted him. He seemed as though he was very happy to come on board. I don't think it was a massive transfer fee in terms of size of fee. You know what I mean? I think it would have been a great addition long term because it would have been an investment to get us where we wanted to be, but it didn't happen. And listen, we've got to move on from those kind of things and support the players who fill in those voids and fill in those gaps. We tried it with Hayden Coulson. First couple of games, didn't think he did anything wrong, but I think the long-term vision is that they were going to go and bring in somebody to go down the long-term route. And you look at the league table, there's some big teams down there. You know what I mean? The league tables never lie. You know what I mean? I look at the top of the table. I'm surprised a couple of those are up there already. I think they've had strong starts. And I'm also surprised at some of the teams who were also down there, including ourselves. And it's never nice to see yourself at the bottom. You know what I mean? Regardless if it's after 1 game, 2 games, 10 games, 30 games, you know, but listen, there's time to turn it around, loads of time. We've got the players to turn it around. We've certainly got the manager. We've got the fan base to turn it around. We'll go in our droves for home games and away games to turn it around. There won't be any stone unturned by the manager and the coaching staff to make sure this is put right.
And I think those 2 loan players that we brought in at the end of the window, experienced players, and we could see that when they came on, their influence on that match. When if we'd brought in younger players. Losing that in that way in your debut in a game that we'd all expected to be winning, but they just rolled the sleeves up and made a big contribution straight away.
Yeah, totally.
I think
on that though, Rob, were you surprised that they didn't start?
No, I don't. Well, it was signed very late. I thought obviously Johnny Howson. Remember he didn't start the season. He was injured for much of the close season, and he's had an influence when he's started to start games, not just on himself but on Hackney and the players around him. So I thought it was right that he would start the game, and in a way it gives O'Brien a chance to watch what was happening. So I wasn't surprised really, but I think they will now.
And I think he's obviously probably given lads one last opportunity to show their worth, and before as probably fairness, you know what I mean? Because they've all worked through pre-season, they've all done what they thought they wanted him to do. Some good comments. I just need to scroll up. Can I scroll up here? Alan Fletcher, we seem to walk the ball into the goal. Why not shoot edge of the box? We talked about Giselle goal at the weekend. Is it frustration from a fan's point of view that we don't shoot more, have more shots, long range shots, instead of trying to be a little bit more too precise and trying to get in those kind of safe areas to get your shots away, Rob?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. I know there's big criticism about the corners this season.
Yeah.
When we played the first game at Coventry, every corner was a short corner. And none of them worked. It was bizarre. They've been working on this set piece that didn't work at all. But I think obviously you've got Latilat who's finding his feet, who looks sharp.
I think he's been impressive.
Yeah,
I think he's finding his feet. He's looking more. To link, he's linking better.
Yeah.
I think with a goal scorer, he needs goals, and I think once he gets one, hopefully like a bus, that more keep coming.
Yeah, he scored once with his head.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and he got in the right position. But he looks, he's on the shoulder of the last man all the time, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he likes to do it. And I think that's one thing that we haven't had, probably for a long time. Someone playing off the shoulder, you know what I mean? It was an area that I used to love playing. You know, I used to love playing with a big target man. Obviously, formations of football was very different. You know what I mean? Having a two up front and one running in behind, which is usually me, and someone coming short. You know, having one up now and two wide is a different way of playing. But I think you've got to have that threat. You know what I mean? Have that threat the other side. Defenders hate it, and if it doesn't work out, good players, technical players. If that's Riley who can pick things up as a 10, then if it's Rodgers who can pick things up in those areas for second balls and get some shots away, then I think we just need a different dimension sometimes. And I think, you know what I mean, if I was being ultra critical, it's finding that right dimension if things aren't working. You know what I mean? Who's making that brave decision to go to a plan B? Are we going to go more direct? Are we going to change the formation? You know, I think his philosophy and the way he plays and the way he attacks games, I'm quite content and quite happy the way that we're going, as in going into games. But I just like to be a little bit more ruthless during the game. That if it's not working, right, scrap it. We're going to go and do something different. And I think fans would really appreciate that, because I think, you know what I mean, you've got Coburn coming off the bench. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And asking him to play up front on his own is a difficult thing as a young centre forward. You know, but if he went up with Alati, I think it would take the pressure off him. They might complement each other a little bit more than we have doing, and it will just give us a little bit more of a different dimension, I think.
I think supporters are really pleased that we didn't loan Coburn out.
Yeah, 100%.
And that he's got an opportunity here to get in, and you know, he looks stronger, and he'll have gained a lot from his season on loan.
Yeah. Is that important, Rob, about young players getting a chance? Because I know as a young player, fans give me a lot more opportunities than probably another player who's signed. You know what I mean? Fans love young players, don't they, coming through? Yeah,
and everyone remembers Coburn and his goal against Spurs and everything, and he just looks the part, and it would make a big difference that there've been so few local forwards that have made it at the club. You can count them on one hand.
And that's a shame, isn't it? You know, because everyone loves the Roy the Rover story. Everyone loves, you know what I mean, that kind of his goal against Spurs. You know what I mean, with how he took it. You know what I mean, that Roy the Rover stuff on its own. You know, and the feeling of scoring at the Riverside, being a local player, is second to none. And fans relate to that, because every person who sits in the Riverside dreams of scoring at the Riverside in a big game, in an FA Cup game, on the TV. And, you know what I mean, exactly. You know, so it's so important that these things sometimes are written in the stars. And you know what I mean, we've got plenty of good young players coming through, by the way. The future's really bright, but the here and now, we just need to make sure that we don't take things for granted, because, you know what I mean, we're seeing other bigger clubs in Middlesbrough Football Club being relegated and going out of, you know what I mean, and having struggles and long-term struggles and not being able to get where we are. But there's some good comments. Jeremy Angus, plenty of time to turn it around. But last Saturday was poor at times. I'm sure Michael will turn it around, but he needs some results soon and some positivity. Jeremy, I absolutely agree, bang on. You know, I'm a Michael fan, love him, think his philosophy is great, but it's a results business, Rob, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we need positive results.
Yeah, and some of these games haven't been close as far as the results are concerned. You know, we got pretty well hammered in the end at West Brom, and then 2-0 at home. You know, it's each time that happens, it affects the confidence of the fans. It must affect the confidence of the players. Yeah,
100%. Rob, do you think the cup games have helped Michael, obviously, in the bigger picture, the bigger scale of things? Because if we'd have been knocked out in the first round against Huddersfield, you know what I mean, luckily enough for us, they went 1-0 up, but they had a man sent off and things turned around.
Yeah.
But if that had gone south for us and we'd have finished on the defeat there, would things have been looking a little bit different, do you reckon, this week?
Well, I thought the cup games we were going to take that form into the Saturday both times, so it was disappointing from that point of view. But surely it's helped some of those players bed in, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see later in the month when we play away at Bradford, where we got it's a fantastic deal, like £5 for a ticket, 4,000 tickets. There's going to be massive crowd there. They'll fancy the chances because we drew 3-3 in pre-season. But hopefully we're going to win before that. But again, it when you've had so many players coming in from outside and trying to mesh together, the cup games are surely helping. Yeah,
totally. And I think the cup games are important, A, for confidence, B, for fitness. It brings players together. He can tweak things, change things a little bit, try different things in different areas. Because we're playing against Huddersfield, was a very difficult game because they move things around, we move things around. Bolton, you're playing against a lesser side. Bradford, now you're playing against a lesser side. You know what I mean? We've always notoriously taken these cup competitions really seriously, which is really important, because I think it's how we've ended up getting to Wembley, end up getting to the Millennium Stadium. You know, if we didn't take these kind of things seriously, our history and our heritage would be very different.
True.
You know, so I think it's.
Yeah,
I think
it's not just about bringing it into the league, is it?
No.
It's about trying to go for it.
Yeah, I think. Listen, we all want to be successful. You know what I mean? Like if someone could guarantee us now a cup final place in the Carabao Cup and a mid-table finish, I think every supporter in the land would snap your hands off, you know. But you can't get through the cup final unless you win the first round. You know, you've got to take it seriously from the word go. And there's a lot of teams who rested a lot of players and have been knocked out of the cup for the right or wrong reasons for their club. But I think it's important that Michael's picked strong sides all the way through, and I hope it continues. Well, it will continue, I believe, because now we're taking things serious now, because you're getting the big sides in. It'd be nice to get a big side of the Riverside and show how good that we potentially could be. One comment, Robert. It feels like we're having a massive disconnect between the management and our recruitment team. What's your thoughts on that, Rob?
Well, that was the hope, wasn't it? That was that. As we're talking about how we consistently made bad starts to the season. So the recruitment team, we hoped, was going to solve that, and that was obviously there was obviously a rift with the last manager. It was quite clear to see, and it looked last season as if our recruitment was really, really good. I don't think there is a rift, but I think it's a case of players coming from lots of different places and having to bed in. I think the injuries didn't help, you know. Of senior players, Dykesdale, Tommy Smith, and Johnny Howson through the summer, and obviously Tuba might have played the first couple of games.
I honestly don't think there was a rift. I think it's a very grey area, and for me, I think the grey area is who signs the players. You know what I mean? Is how are the deals done? You know what I mean? Is it a manager asking for a player, or is it he looks for an area? Are the gaps filled in for him? And it must be difficult for a manager in 2023 to get given a player to work with and try and coach him into the way that he wants to play. And it's very difficult. You know, I don't know if that happens. I don't know if it's hand selected and these kind of players are selected from Michael's viewing. But it's interesting, it's intriguing. I think sometimes you want a little bit more clarity, don't you? You want to know a little bit more, and why players are brought in, why players are let go, and then maybe the answers, which are all unanswered, a little bit more clear, and the frustrations won't be as deep.
He does say, he does make it clear quite often, Michael Carrick, that for him it's as important the player's character. And his personality, his character, and how he brings that into the team. So I imagine that if there's any sort of process bit where he gets to talk to the player, he wants to know a bit about before signing.
That's got to be a Sir Alex thing, surely. It's got to be Man United. It's got to be Andy, because you know what I mean. They had the biggest characters. They had the best characters. United. You know what I mean. He was one of them. You know, they're just cool as ice. You know, they just didn't seem to fluster under pressure, you know, and I think, exactly. And I think if he is feeling pressure, I hope he's calm, and this time now where he can regroup himself and have a bit of time for downtown with his family and go again when the national break's gone, because I think for me it's uncalled for. You know what I mean? Carrick and Steve Gibson don't deserve the call outs that they're getting, in my opinion. I think that what Michael's done for the club since he's come, since Chris lost his job, I think he's done phenomenally well.
And I think the recruitment team that they're putting together is to build something for the future.
Yeah.
It's got to be for the way the championship is, and you have to rebuild every season. It's got to be for the present as well. But I think it's a structure for the future, and so you've got to stick with it because it's going to be something that it could be like the 16, 17-year-olds coming into the club have an impact in 2 years' time.
Not totally. Hi, Rai. Rai's just said hello a couple of times. I wasn't ignoring you, mate. I was just going through a few of the comments. Robert, continue then what you just said there. And people say last season's recruitment was good, but most of them are loans which were brought in, which has made us weaker this season with the gaps. Rob, obviously we spoke about this, didn't we, before we came on
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because you bring in some good players, some loan players, some lads who've got potential, good pedigree from Premier League clubs. But then when they leave, or if they leave big holes in big places. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's what we're
and now. Perhaps we signed players that were like one rung higher up the ladder than players that we brought in the past. Younger players who are not quite ready to sort of, they're still trying to prove themselves as individuals. But last season, Ramsey and Archer, for instance, just really hit the ground running. I was very surprised at Villa selling them. I know Villa are doing very well, but I was really surprised because I thought that we'd prepared them to challenge for the first team. And certainly Archer's already scoring goals in the Premier League.
He's got in the Premier League. They both were involved in the World Cup in the summer to win the World Cup for the 21.
Yes, so, that's right.
You know what I mean? Like for me, Middlesbrough helped that happen and put those players on the map. You know, we've got a player who's playing the Champions League. We've got a player, Giles, who's playing the Premier League, and like people see that as a negative. We've lost them, but see the positives that our club, our team, our manager, our coaches. You know what I mean? They've developed those kind of players, so we can do it again. We can do it again. If we can do it with our own, or do it with players who are staying full time, then we just need a bit of time to bed in. We need a little bit more positivity, and I think I believe we'll turn it around. But I'd like to hear from everybody else. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. You know, I've said about the stick that Steve and Michael are getting. Rai said, "Do you think Carrick will walk before being sacked?" 100% no. I don't think any manager now likes to make that decision. I think if you give up, then it's hard to get another job down the line because you don't quit. You know what I mean? If someone takes it out of your hands, it's decision made for you. I think if you walk before you're pushed, I think it's you know what I mean? I think he's made a sterner stuff than that. I think because listen, losing a playoff semi-final is probably more pressure than what's going on right now. You know, so I think he's played in bigger games. He's played in Champions League finals. He's played in big FA Cup finals. He's played in Premier League deciders. So, you know what I mean? No offence to the position we're in now, but he's played in bigger games and been involved in bigger games. So I think his mentality will be quite clear that he'll be instilling that in the players, and hopefully things can turn around very quickly. Yeah,
I want to be optimistic. I want to say that we're going to go and get something from our next games. I just don't. It would just be wholly negative to see Michael Carrick leave Middlesbrough because I think it was such a good relationship last season, and it promises so much.
No, totally, and I think that's the expectation we have as Middlesbrough fans. I think we set our pedestal really high and we set our standards really high, and then when they fall lower than we thought, like they are now, the drop's massive. You know, the gap's just too big, and I think we're our worst enemy at times. I think we set the bar really, really high instead of thinking, right, we've lost all these players. We're a club in transition. We're a club which needs to take that step back up the ladder. You know what I mean? We've probably gone back 5 or 6 steps. We need to slowly get back on that ladder instead of thinking that we can run before we can walk. And I think it's important that we do that instead of trying to run straight away.
I think there was a lot of people thinking last season, because Carrick hadn't come in at the start, and they were thinking, well, hopefully we're going to go up this season, but maybe we're one season away, and thinking we're going to bring that into next season. You know, we were disappointed in the playoffs, but a lot of people thinking, well, we'll be better prepared next season. Yeah. So then your hopes are really dashed because you think you've started one step back, and it's a bit like obviously Chris Wilder again. We were favourites in many people's eyes, going off the back of his season, coming into the next season, that we were going to go up. We were going to build on that. It seems very hard to build on things in the Championship, and not just for us, but for other clubs. And time and again you see a hangover from playoffs. The teams that get beaten in the playoffs, they lose a lot of players, and they lose a lot of confidence, and if they don't make a good start, it can be a real struggle.
No, totally, and I think it was certainly a hangover. It was certainly a hangover from that, and I think you're going into a season negatively. Players will be disappointed, gutted. You know what I mean? It's to look at probably the position Luton are in. You know what I mean? The game that they missed, the big Wembley occasion. You know, so there's loads of factors which play on your mind mentally, physically. You know, so it's really disappointing. But they've had to just get back on with it. Being a footballer, you've got to take the highs with the lows, the good with the bad, and unfortunately, that's just the way that we are. Kofi, can you let me know what Stuart said? He said my comments are in, but I can't scroll up for whatever reason.
Yeah, he said most people can give well, can't even name replacements, give over, no guarantees in football.
And for me, guys, that's the point. You know, I think the grass isn't always green, and I've always said this. It's really difficult to bring new managers in, you know, unless you pre-plan and you know and you can identify, you know what I mean, and you're then bringing the right person in, Rob, to the right football club. It's, you know what I mean, for me, you don't make a rash decision, because the chairman is the one who takes the stick, Bowser is the one who will be taking the stick. If they make the wrong decision, it's their fault, you know what I mean. So for me, the right person in charge is the right person we've got right now, and hopefully things will turn around very quickly.
Hope so.
Yeah, but with that, we still have players within our own squad who are good enough to help what we've got. Instead of thinking we need the new players to come in, we've lost big players. You know what I mean? For me, Riley McGree. You know what I mean? Riley for me is one of the best players the Championship's got. The way that he plays, he glides past players, he receives the ball in dangerous areas. You know what I mean? Look at the stats there against Bolton. 12 minutes when he came off the bench. 15 touches, 1 goal, 1 assist, 1 key pass. Didn't give the ball away. One big chance created, you know. It's and then doesn't start the next game. You know, I mean, there's rumours that he's carrying an injury, carrying a knock. But when you've got a player of that calibre, the ability that he's got, the natural ability that he's got, surely we need to see him more on the pitch. You know what I mean? And if we can get him out for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, then surely that's better than having him for 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes when we're chasing games.
Impact player, and we saw him make a real, I'm saying impact player, but you saw him really make an impact off the bench against Huddersfield in the League Cup. He just looked like a cut above everybody on the pitch, and I thought he's going to be the first starter on Saturday. But he hasn't always looked totally 100%. So I did wonder about his fitness at times, because he started the first game and played pretty well. But we're saying about the cup as well. And Isaiah Jones has played very well in those cup matches, and has started obviously started on Saturday. I guess I was surprised that he was brought up, actually, because he was getting through down the flanks, and he's also a player that knows about. He will track back. He will defend, even though he's a winger. So I was surprised that he was brought off, but maybe he's trying to make. He doesn't want to burn him out. But that's for sure. But I think you're talking about players that are at the club, and I think Jones can have another really good season. He had a disappointing season last season, but he's put a lot behind him, and I think he can make a real impact again. And same with Hayden Hackney.
I think with Isaiah, I think he excites players, doesn't he? He gets you on the edge of your seat, and I think towards the end of the season, I thought he was outstanding. You know, I thought Coventry game in the first half in the playoffs, I thought he was brilliant. We didn't score. Everything went through him. You know what I mean? Second half, we didn't get the ball to him. We starved him of the ball. Second leg, I thought everyone was probably very nervous, and it was a very difficult game. But he was the one player who I thought was going to unlock that door, was going to make something happen. And every time I see it now, give him the ball, let him take people on, let him show that positivity, that creativity, his pace, his driving in the box, making things happen. I want to see more of him. And I think we, as fans, we like to see that happening. You know what I mean? Probably the player previous to that is probably Adama, who's got the ball and gets you on the edge of your seat. You know, absolutely. We want to see that happening. We want to be excited as a supporter. You want people to see people taking people on and making things happen. And he certainly has done it. And I hope that he does continue to get his chances. I hope his end product gets better. I hope his goal ratio and his stats get better, because the chances created, his assists, his goals, because unfortunately, at the minute, football's a stats-driven industry, and he needs the stats to be better, I think. Would you agree on that then, Rob?
Yeah, and it's funny, but after the second leg against Coventry in the playoffs, walking away from the ground, I was walking away with some Coventry fans, and they were all saying, "Where was Isaiah Jones tonight? He absolutely murdered us." They said they were really pleased that he wasn't being played. And it was funny. You get a different perception sometimes from away fans to home fans as to the players that they pick out. And going to the game at the start of the season at Coventry City, I was again walking in with lots of their fans, and they were talking about Paddy McNair. Okay. They thought Paddy McNair was. They said that young lad you've got. Lad. Yeah, they said he was one of the best defenders we've seen all season. Couldn't believe the way that he marked Gyökeres out of the game, and then you would get a completely different perception from Middlesbrough fans that, well, Paddy McNair was only playing because Fry was injured. He's not up to it anymore. But for the Coventry fans, it was just like, what a defender.
Yeah, and people like opinions. Football's an opinions-based product, isn't it? You know, I think people who don't see players week in, week out have probably a higher opinion of the players that we see week in, week out. And Chris Adamson, Rob, I'll give this one to you. In your opinion, with the squad that we've got, where will we finish? If you had to hang a hat on a position, where will we finish?
Yeah, I'm hoping that definitely hoping for a top 10 finish. I think we can still do it. I think we could still get in that position. I'm thinking of teams like Nottingham Forest when they made that terrible start to the season.
They started worse than we did, by the way, and look where they ended up.
Yeah.
So I think there's still opportunities.
I think you're quite right, Andy. So our best chance is we have to stay together. At this point.
We have to, and everybody. That's the players as well. You know, because we can't afford to lose anything and have a chink in our armour anywhere. I think it's so important. Andrew makes a good point. We're getting overrun in the midfield. You know what I mean? Would you go to a 4-3-3? I agree with your first point, Andrew. I think we have been overrun in the middle, and I think that's why he's looking at he's brought in fresh new areas. I think O'Brien obviously made a good solid debut coming on as a sub. I think he's lacking minutes. He's lacking match fitness. So I think, you know, I mean, for me, I didn't expect him to start. I did expect Sam Greenwood to start because he played the Leeds game in the midweek against Salford in the Cup. So I just knew he was fit. But I think Lewis will give us, for me, he'll give us that bite. It'll give Hayden an opportunity to fly forward a little bit. It'll give others, if that's a Riley McGree, if that is a Sam Greenwood, if that is a Rodgers, an opportunity to play a little bit higher forward and give us more protection to stop the goals going in and give us more of an opportunity to go and create more chances. Because I think it's attack, start, and defence. You know what I mean? So you in defence start up front. So we have got to try and be a little bit, utilise our midfield area a little bit better and not get overrun. And you know what I mean? I think at times I'm a big Johnny Howson fan, but I think sometimes we can get overrun in certain times during long periods of the game.
Yeah. Would you say that, you know, we shipped a few goals? Would you say that some of that is down to the fact that the defence have been left exposed?
100%, yeah, 100%. Listen, I don't think it's the defender's fault or the goalkeeper's fault that we're letting goals in. You know, and I think at times the West Brom, the fourth goal, for example, we just got back in a 3-2. We're going a little bit further forward. We get caught in the break. You take those things as opportunities, but I think at times we have looked probably that we haven't tracked back runners. We haven't followed where we should. We haven't worked as hard to close people down. We haven't stopped a shot like Dazelle shot, you know, for the first goal. You know, and listen, that he could shoot that 9 times out of 10 and they don't go in, but if you don't close down 10 times, you know what I mean, he's got an opportunity to go in, and unfortunately we didn't close him down. We let him shoot, he goes and scores because, you know what I mean, if that's tiredness, if that's just complacency, if that's just, let him shoot, he won't score, you know what I mean, we've got to have a better mentality than that. Stuart, sorry, I've been ignoring your messages. I think the break will help the players. They haven't gone away at the break. The ones that are staying away, the better players shouldn't have a problem getting up to speed. Obviously, we're going to go through some of the players who've gone away for international break. Stuart makes a good point that we can still work on things. You know what I mean? The point is that a lot of the so-called better teams in the Championship, international players, they'll go with Ireland, go with Wales, go with various countries. So we will keep our nucleus of our team together, to work on things, probably play a game or two in-house, work on some really important aspects defensively, offensively, and hopefully get the rewards. Yeah,
I think so. I think that they'll certainly be looking to tighten up, won't they? And they'll certainly be looking to improve the passing and the movement. And getting to know where one another is on the pitch, etc.
Which I think it's important though, because it's a team which is brand new. It's being thrown together. You know what I mean? Because normally pre-season's a time to put everything together, make mistakes, play loads of games, work on whatever you want to work on. we did it in our third game in. You know what I mean? Really, we brought in the players at the time where we'd already lost 2 games. We'd already played a cup game. It's, you know what I mean? So that they're going in for a big home game with a high expectation to win the game, and unfortunately, it hasn't happened. For whatever reason, it hasn't happened. And you know what I mean? There's times that new players, centre forwards come in, score first game, and the confidence is flying. We keep clean sheets, but sometimes it goes where it takes them a couple of games to score goals. Defensively, we're letting goals in, and at the minute, bringing new players in and sticking them in, confidence obviously is a little bit lower. So it's that's probably behind the manager's decision potentially to not put players straight in, to bring them in slowly and spoon feed them how he wants them to do it, and so the long term they can flourish hopefully.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, it'd be really sort of important if we can score a first goal. That'll make such a big difference.
Yeah, I think it will, because I think the relief of it when it happens, I think it'll be a big one, because goals change games, goals change the way that you think about a game. It changes the fans' mentality, because it's not all doom and gloom. You're not you know what I mean. You've got a different environment around you. You know what I mean. The place will be buzzing, home and away, and I think the more that we do it, the happier the place will be, you know. Martin, I love our fans cry about the squad. 12 in and everyone expects us to gel. Should know the best squad. They're a joke as well. And the Gibbo out shout. Yeah, listen, Martin, I said on Twitter, I'll probably stay off. It's X now, isn't it? Sorry, I upset people with that as well. When you go on social media platforms and you give out your opinion, you know what I mean? I don't mind people having an opinion. I'm not right. I'm not wrong. I'm just putting my opinion out there, and that goes for everybody. But you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of upset, angry, frustrated people here, and for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons. I just think park that to one side, give it 5-6 games or so, and see where we are. Then give us an opportunity for these players to gel, for these players to play together, and see where we are. Because you know, for me, we've got to give people an opportunity. And in 6 games times, 5 games times, if we're still in the position that we're in, if we have still the points total average of what we have now, then listen, the decisions will be made with or without our support.
Yeah.
Which I think's going to happen. You know what I mean? So for me, back them. If we get 2 or 3 wins, the league table will look very differently, and Michael will be the best manager in the championship again. and it's a joy of football, you know.
Yeah, and that will be joyful as well.
Of course it will, as a football fan, but more importantly as a Boro fan, you know. Rob, I want to talk about international players and the international break. Are you a fan of the international break? Are you not a fan of the international break?
I'm glad we've got it now.
Well, I said last week I didn't want it, because I thought we were going to beat QPR. Yeah. We're on a run. That would be 2 wins out of 2. The momentum's going to be stopped. But now I think having a bit of time to regroup, to refocus, I think is really important. You know, and obviously on the screen there we've got McGree, Silvera, Glover, Hackney going to the 21s, which is a huge thing, by the way. Jiang, Lennon, McNair and Vanderberg going away as well. I think yes, we're losing a lot of players. Players who start the games, players who impact a lot of what we've done this season, but it leaves behind players who need to get fit, lads who have come into the club brand new, who need to work on things. If they want to get up to speed with fitness, with philosophies, with patterns of play, which I think is really, really important. And I agree with some of the comments, Martin, we will come good. You know what I mean? For me, with this break, I think it'll be the best thing that happens to us this season. Other clubs who've started well won't like it.
Yeah.
The Middlesbroughs, the Sheffield Wednesdays, the Swansea Cities, all the bottom 3, bottom 5, bottom 7, I think they'll be delighted with it, because they'll give them opportunities to regroup, and managers will be saying every day, listen, we go again, we start again. Our season starts Saturday, our season starts Wednesday, you know, and I think that they've got to keep that mentality, they've got to keep that way of thinking. They've got to hope that, my manager, by the way, got to hope that the players continue to buy into his ideas, because, you know what I mean, it's not broken, you know what I mean, we just need to make sure that the new players can get up to speed like the old players did, and because the way he plays is phenomenal, you know what I mean, the way the manager wants us to play, you know what I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I said a few weeks ago, and I watched the show back, I said I wanted to play, and I didn't mean it came out different, I said I wanted to have a bit of a cranker style. I meant solid, hard working, hard to beat.
Yeah.
But it was so boring, you know what I mean, in terms of what we were watching going forward. There was no chances created. You know what I mean, what we're watching now is exciting football, attacking, creative, possession-based football, which is very rare in the Championship and very rare for a Middlesbrough team to be watching, you know. So I think it's important that we continue to buy into it, enjoy it, embrace it, and hopefully it can continue with some points added on.
we enjoyed it so much last season. It was one of the, you know, we might have fallen away in the end, but it was still one of the best seasons. And as you see, you compare it to Karanka seasons, and the football was better without a doubt. And then, so which do you take?
Yeah. I know it's results based, Rob, isn't it? It's results based, but you want to be excited as well as look forward to games. I don't think we look forward to a Saturday. I think it was just, we're playing Saturday. You know what I mean? It's not where now you look forward to your Saturdays because you're excited and you want to turn it around. You want the best of both, of course you do. But
and that's why people are kind of lashing out now, because they're so disappointed they didn't expect this coming out of the summer and coming out of last season, and people are looking back to the end of last season. But there were reasons for the form falling away, not just because we were already there, but also Johnny Howson's injury in the warm-up at Rotherham was pretty critical. Then I was surprised when we rested Chuba, when we went to Luton. These are all old arguments, but at the same time, when I saw the way that Coventry got stuck into him, then I thought, all right, that's why we rested Chuba.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to go Andrew's comment in a minute. Hi, Aidan. Wasn't ignoring you last week, by the way, the week before when I did it. I think Andrew's trying to get me a job here as a strikers coach. We couldn't hit a barn door at the minute, and we're in desperate need of a striking coach. Have you thought about putting yourself forward? I don't think the strikers need my input and my help. I think I was very different as a centre forward. Yeah, I don't think I was very technical, and I've always said this, and this isn't a negative slant on my football career at all. I wasn't technically very good. What I had was pace, which no one else had. The kind of pace that I had. I loved the club, still do. Played for that badge. I worked harder than a lot of players. I knew that I had my own limitations in my own ability, and I think that was important for me moving forward. And I think when I probably let myself down in those kind of areas where it was one-on-ones or chances that were created, I think at times that I seemed to score the goals that I shouldn't have scored, and I missed the chances that I should have scored. And I think that was probably through my own abilities, really, but I don't think the club needs my input at the minute with having a strikers coach. Stuart, we have to get back the team behind. We have to get back behind the team. They don't read the comments. Brilliant, thank you. Martin, please tell the fans how much Gibbo loses running the club. I don't think they realise how much of a quick word about. Big for fair play. Listen, I talked about this on Twitter, on X the other day about the club, how much money he's put in, how much money, fair play, etc. Yeah, it's important that we buy into what the club is doing and doing it right. You know what I mean? Team, we haven't got the money to go and spend 15, 24, 25 million pounds on a centre forward. Coventry City buying the centre forward, which when he scored against us. Yeah, we haven't got that kind of spare funds at the minute, and I think it's important that the club understands and the fans understand that as well, by the way. But for me, we will turn it around. We've got the fan base to turn it around. We've got the people around. We've got the players. We've got everything around us to make this a good place. The
support is brilliant this season. The away support has been quite phenomenal.
Always is, wasn't it? Always has been, Rob.
Yeah. But we've been selling out everywhere, and you know, when we went to Huddersfield in the cup, it was good prices. It was £10. But there was almost around the stadium. It was basically, we sold out our end 2,000, and there was only about 4,000 Huddersfield, and then we were at the Bolton. It was roughly the similar situation. They could have given us more tickets. We would have taken them. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens at Bradford. It's a bit of a. It's the first time I can think that we've been £5 tickets. So I'm really interested to see.
It's a great ground, isn't it, Valley Parade? It's a good atmosphere, you know what I mean? It's always been quite a good place for the club to go and play. We've got some positive results there. We've had some good times there. We've had some really good games there. So I expect hopefully another positive result in the cup, a positive victory going to the next round, more positivity around the club. So hopefully we can pick some.
And I think it has been a positive atmosphere by and large at matches, considering the results. People have stayed behind. The fans have stayed behind the team, stayed behind the players. Stayed behind the manager. Yeah. They want it to come good.
And on that, I couldn't think of a better comment to finish. You know what I mean? You fans run our club. You know what I mean? So we all want it to turn around. We all want positivity. We all want the club to be where they want to be. And thanks for all your comments. Thanks for everything, Rob. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
And guys, I'll see you next week.